guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now my goal is that after this video is to introduce you guys to another way that you can earn online or have a business online. Now if this is your guys' first time on my channel, my name is Lacaba. I am the virtual ate. I've been working from home since I was 15 years old and now run an outsourcing company in the Philippines. And I post videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home, so make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos. Now our guest for today is born and raised in Vancouver, Canada, and she spent her first few years teaching as part of a bigger adventure by moving to London and working with inner city schools. She's also moved and lived in New York and Singapore with her family. Her mission has been to create a learning framework that will guide children to foster their own superpowers by using techniques that she has used in her classrooms, in one-on-one teaching, and in her role as a parent. Okay guys, so without further ado, please help me welcome our guest for today, Miss Ramita Anand. Hi Ramita!
And how are you?
I'm good. I'm super excited because what you do is something that I really look up to, and it's something that I think if I took a different path, it was something that I'd be interested in going into. So for those who have no idea who you are, or for those who are just coming into the YouTube channel, can you describe a little bit of how do you get started working with your business? How do you founded your business? Your whole origin story.
So my story really comes from, as they say, you're the sum of all your parts. So different parts of my life, which sort of I brought together to create Elevate, really my mentoring service program now. I was a teen girl, about the age of 13, almost 14 when I lost my mum. So I had a very difficult time as a teenager, losing my own personal mentor, but the strongest person I knew, which was my mum. Fast forward to Ramita the adult, I trained to be a teacher and I worked for many years with young kids. And then I became a mum, and today I have a teen girl myself, and I have a 10, almost 11-year-old boy who also has a learning difference. I transitioned from teaching just mainstream classes to helping children with learning differences, and I retrained myself to address those needs. And I learned a lot from the children that I was working with, but I lost a lot from my peers, and I sort of spent a lot of time listening to other parents. And I think that was when I hit a real sort of, fork in the road, when I was thinking about whether or not continuing teaching in the classroom was going to be everything for me, or if I could be using some of the knowledge I'm sitting on to create something that possibly is missing at the moment from everyday schoolwork. And so I put all my thinking together and I decided to draw on my experiences as a little girl, draw on my experiences as a mum, and then as a teacher. And that is how really Elevate was born.
That's amazing. And I love that you basically took from a lot of the different experiences that a lot of people would have not seen, basically would have just kind of brushed over. And as a mom especially, I can see how that shift of seeing like, oh, you can now actually take care of your kid, unlike when your mom had to pass away where she couldn't take care of you. And I love how you melded that all together with what you do. So with your business, and I know for a lot of people, especially I know a little bit about how you started, how were you able to shift now to be able to work just purely online with all of these girls that you are able to help? How has that kind of affected being able to, especially now with online school, with them having to juggle that part as well? It's not anymore just physical school. How are you able to switch that over to that side?
Yeah, it hasn't been an easy year and a bit, has it, for so many of our young people. And obviously that was not in the equation when I first started thinking about designing this mentorship program. It wasn't part of the plan. We didn't know what was about to come. I started designing the program very much thinking that it would be something I would do face-to-face with the girls. And obviously that is the best way to get children, I feel, the personal connection, the human interaction when you're teaching is such an important part of your time with the children that you work with. Having said that, if I think about drawing on the positives of everything that's happened, it means that whilst I'm sitting in Singapore, I am able to connect from girls in Montreal, girls in Sydney, girls in London, and I've been able to work with children across the globe as long as we make the time difference work. And yes, online has been in a juggle, and I probably have to work a little bit harder to make my lessons a bit more user-friendly for a young child, especially imagine a preteen girl who's maybe a bit skeptical about what this is all about and why am I doing this. So I have to bring a lot more to the, to the virtual world, and I might have to do if we were face to face. But I have to say, I think with a bit of creativity, with a little bit of thinking around, the different things that you do, your energy, your passion, you have to work hard for it, but it kind of does shine through. And I plan my lessons to be as interactive as I can. So I do use props, and I do send the girls things in the post in advance of when we start, so that they have things to unbox with me, and we sort of make something we're doing together, and we look at some, and they're using some of those materials within our lessons. So yeah, it's not the easiest thing, it's not the most ideal thing, but it also means that my reach then has been greater.
True. And for those who kind of want to just know a little bit more of what you do, what do you help these preteens with? What is the focus for helping them, especially as you're doing it all online? Again, with them also juggling their own school. Basically, how do you help these teens in your way?
So the way I like to explain to parents and to teachers or anyone else interested in learning about what I do is I try to draw the analogy between preventative medicine. So we are all into healthcare, we're all into well-being, and we might do fitness classes, we might eat well, we might, go on retreats even to try and maintain a long, healthy lifestyle. And we hope that we age gracefully and we, stay as healthy as possible. So we take all the right precautions from an early age is pretty much the consensus around the globe. The one thing I find with education is that we are very good at being reactive. So when children have hit places of despair or worry or concern, and they're in a place that anxiety is so high that they've been diagnosed with depression or anxiety or something else, or they have an eating disorder or something worse like self-harm. There's so much wonderful support for those girls and teens that are suffering from something that I wouldn't, wish upon any of our young girls. But it seems to be the way the trend is going. There seems to be greater concerns around mental health. And I really thought long and hard about this. So what I do, in my view, is give my girls, or the girls I work with, the preventative tools to help them navigate challenge, so that we don't get to the place of despair, so that because challenge is part of life, and with whether we like it or not, having to deal with things that are going to be tough is going to be a lesson that I think every child will at some point in their journey encounter. So if we can give them all the things, and of course we want to protect our children, and of course we want to hope that only the best things ever happen to them, but they will, find things in which they fail at, or worse, they get sick, or whatever it might be. And I think for us to be naive about the fact that we don't need to give them the skills to deal with these types of difficulties, we're kidding ourselves. So what I do is I work on 5 superpowers, I like to call them, which I think if the kids had these, that whatever was faced in their way, they wouldn't worry too as much, or they would be more equipped to, and they'd be more empowered to take on what's ahead of them, whether they're exams, whether they're, sports tryouts, whether it's a family divorce, or a family death, or, anything like that. So these things happen to our teens, and I think many of them find them really hard and challenging. So the 5 superpowers I work on is confidence, emotional intelligence, resilience, empathy. And I think if we can teach these 5 superpowers, or these 3 key attributes, to our children, we can set them up to be really well-adjusted, good future leaders.
That's amazing. And when I first was reading that on your website, I thought that if I was, 15-year-old Leanne or 14-year-old Leanne, having these would have set me up also a little bit better. And it's definitely something that, as like here on my channel, I teach a lot of 14-year-olds and 13-year-olds who are coming in, who's asking me, how can I work online? One of the first things I usually advise them is actually you have to kind of think about your mindset of how you are going into this. Because if you're working online, if you're even having school online, you're going to be exposed to all of these things that before, when I was your age, I would never have been exposed to, just because of internet and YouTube and like seeing other things. And also just being more reachable. Being reachable has never been a burden before, and now it kind of is, especially as they're going into this. So far, what you do and how you help these young girls, what's been the most surprising thing about it for you? Being able to shift online, being able to work with them as they also navigate and see, okay, what can I learn online? What is this woman helping me with? What has been a surprising thing for you?
I think the amount of comfort children take in a couple of things. One, that they're being heard. That someone really wants to listen to what they have to say. A lot of times I think teenagers assume that adults don't really care about their opinions as much. So I think giving them that space, a neutral adult, some teachers can be, which, it's no fault of their own. So having somebody there that is on their side, I think that's been a real revolution, to see the comfort level with that, and how much they might open up because they have somebody that they can talk to. I think the other thing that I was going to say was how much they take comfort in knowing that they're not the only person going through it. So I think because I can model empathy and I can say that, okay, when I was 13, I didn't have these problems as such, but I definitely went through something similar where I felt alone, or I felt scared, or I felt, these, and I think what happens is that teens don't really have the language around how to express themselves around these emotions. And I think when I take the time to unpack some of the things that they're feeling, a lot more is spelled out for them. And it's like a eureka moment. They see it for themselves. And as soon as they see it for themselves, their whole body language changes, their attitude around the lessons changes as well. And I just think that the thing that's been really nice for me is getting lovely messages from their parents after the lessons saying, you can just see the shift in my child's mood after she's logged off a lesson from you, which makes me feel like there is, we all want to lift our girls, and lifting them by accepting them and embracing them for what they are is part of the key.
That's amazing. And I love that the shift sometimes from what the way to describe it is sometimes instantaneous, just having someone to listen to them. And I remember myself being that teenage girl, not knowing this is what I was going through, not knowing how to label it, what I was feeling even. It's amazing. You can put that into words, so then they can now express themselves basically more fully. With you being a mom yourself and being the thing that did inspire you to start, how has it been being able to work from home, being able to have an online business, a remote business, being with your kids more? What's your favorite thing about that so far?
Yeah, I listened to something today about the idea of when you go out and work for yourself, really, and how that might be a lonely place. And I think that's a really interesting concept to try and explore. So I miss my busy schools and the busy classrooms and the navigating the busy hallways of a school and the interaction with teachers that you get in a school environment. And that will always be something I cherish. It's, one of the best parts of learning is exchanging ideas with each other. But I think the amazing thing about what's happened for me has been that I'm a real believer of passion and of energy, right? And I think the energy that you pour into something attracts the similar energy back. So what I found, I'm not lonely because I'm meeting some great people through this world and discovering other women and other adults who have the same kind of vision to inspire young people, or I'm meeting wonderful authors who've written great books to help young people, and that opening up the world to me in a way that I might not have if I just stuck to living in one part of England and staying in one school. I think what I've learned and how I'm growing as an entrepreneur has been exceptional. And then obviously the balance of having time with my kids and being able to schedule meetings and teaching in and around my children's schedule has been liberating. I mean, I as a teacher, I have to say we're blessed with holidays. We work very hard. I'm not going to do teachers any disservice. They work extremely hard during the year. And yes, those holidays are fantastic. But as a mom, you hate those holidays because you're at home with your children. So I've never really had to juggle that part of my life before because I've always had that luxury of having the school holidays as my kids did. But I do think that now my day-to-day is nice because I'm not rushing off in the morning. I can schedule my first meeting after I've put them on, or they've gone on their buses and they've gone to school. So yes, the flexibility of being around and scheduling things to be more versatile around and at home has been really great.
That's really awesome to hear, and it's very, for me at least, very inspiring to see how a lot of people's lives have changed just because they kind of had to be forced to be remote. They had to be kind of forced to just be online. And it's amazing that you were able to still find that balance of meeting new people, find new ideas, despite not being in a physical school. So far in the last year that you have been doing this online, what is something that you've kind of found that makes it easier for you to either connect or for you to either be able to just work more seamlessly or have a better flow? What has been a kind of revelation that you've found working with these these kids, with these preteens, and also working with their parents and their teachers, what has been kind of a thing that you found that a year ago you had no idea they can do, and now you're like, oh, I can just do this one thing and it makes everything easier?
That's a good question. Maybe I haven't found the secret yet about one thing that I can do. I certainly think there's a couple of things I can do. I think, obviously, as a teacher, physically giving your child, affirmations and reading their body language is important, seeing how much they're understanding you, how much they're getting you, and those kinds of cues are missing online for me. So I think the way that using innovative ways of sort of getting thumbs up, or give me a C if you're confused, which I used to use in my classrooms, but you can do some of those things over Zoom. But I think the thing that's changed most, or really allowed me to feel the most success with my students and with their parents, has been bringing my true self to each lesson. I think if I feel something, or if I make a mistake or I want them to see that making mistakes is okay, I make mistakes. If I tell them that failure is something to celebrate, then I might share something I failed miserably at, and then I might show them, like, look what I did. I burnt this, and I totally got this wrong, and it was horrific, and everyone was laughing at me in my yoga class online, even though it was online, and I made a fool of myself when I couldn't get into my headstand. All of these types of things, and sharing the parts of me that they probably don't realize adults also face and fear. And making that connection with them has been the thing that I think has been most resonant, or has made the biggest difference.
That's amazing. And I love that part of showing them that you make mistakes. You're not just just saying that it's okay. You're just showing them, this terrible, embarrassing thing happened to me, but I'm okay, I'm fine. I turned on the other side. And for teenagers, especially if they've never made big mistakes, it can be so terrifying. And again, I remember that feeling of, it can be so terrifying to take a risk if I've never taken a risk before. But having an adult such as yourself, who's you showing them that it's okay, that you can get on the other side of it, that must be super powerful for them. So that's great that you were able to find and see that.
Yeah, I think the more you can relate, the more you can allow them to see that you're just as human as they are. And yes, they're teens, and they're confused on lots of things because they haven't been on the other side. But I think what we do a lot of times with our teens is we talk at them, not to them, not with them. And I think that changing that thing and really celebrating their individuality and their unique perspective, but saying to them, like, I also really scared in my dance class, or when I moved countries, I had no friends. You're moving schools, or you're moving, you're having to move countries because of the situation with your dad's job, or whatever it might be that your family's going through. Look, I just moved countries last year. I just came to Singapore. I had no friends. I still don't have many friends. How can we move around this? We share problems together, and then we can get through them.
That's beautiful. It's really powerful too. So right now, with everything that you're doing with the kids, with helping also with their parents, because I'm seeing that a big part of that is then their parents are also learning from you, from your examples of how you're teaching them. What is kind of currently your big, hairy, audacious goal? What is something that you are working towards with your business, with the programs that you're running with all of these teens?
So ultimately, obviously, what I would love to be able to do is empower enough children, as I would love to be able to touch as many girls as possible that I can throughout the program. But the way to really do that is, get enough parents to invest in this part of their child's development. I think these soft skills are important in some cultures. They're not maybe as hugely valued or seen as necessities in other cultures, so it's not always easy. Or I think the mindset of parents is they think of mentorship, or they think of coaching of any kind, they assume that there must be something wrong with their child that needs to be fixed. And whether or not parents are okay with making that conversation, shift, because actually it's just another way of making, like putting vitamins in your body is not a bad thing, right? We don't bat an eyelid when someone buys vitamins from the shop to enhance their physical well-being. So I think adding in boosts of this isn't because something is wrong with your child. I'm doing it because I know your child. I'm starting from a place of accepting that your child is a supergirl. I know that. How can we ensure that she only goes from strength to strength to strength? So shifting that mindset within grown-ups and allowing them to see the benefits of raising children that carry these skills, instead of looking for them when we're hiring, which is what I keep hearing, is that that's what people want in in jobs and top leadership roles. People want, candidates with empathy and people who can, be resilient. Well, it's very difficult to get that if you haven't taught that to children. And it is a very teachable skill, so I think that's my long-term goal, is to convince as many people from around the world about the importance of instilling these soft skills into our young folks.
That's amazing. And I love that, because for a lot of time, especially and I'm talking more about Asian cultures, we're very much taught just the hard skills, just like focus on getting the work done, getting your grades up, making sure that you're on honor roll. But soft skills is something that's not tackled as much. And as someone who trains adults, also for myself, trains them on soft skills, it's super essential. But if you don't have the right foundations for it, it's kind of hard to understand why you even need it in the first place. So that's amazing that you really are starting them at that very young age, so then they have the foundations to build themselves up. So right now, Ramita, how can people find you? How can people support you? If there are parents out there who are watching this video, how can they work with you if they want to see their kids also developing their own superpower?
The best way to do that is to drop me an email on my website. There's a contact page, and my email is easily accessible there. I'm on all social media accounts. You can find me on all the social media platforms. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram at Elevate.RA, and my email and my DMs, everything, all the details will be on all those pages as well.
Awesome. And I'll make sure to link all of those below so you guys can check Ramita out. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for sharing what you do, and also thank you for being you, for helping a lot of the teens who need this right now, especially with the pandemic, especially with things being so shaky for them. You're giving them a more solid base so they can launch with their superpower. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you for your time, and thank you for having me here. It's been a delight.
Now again, guys, if you want to get to know more of Ramita, make sure to check out the links below, and make sure to follow Elevate.RA, which is her company, on Instagram as well. Now, as for our featured comment for this video, it's just short and sweet. It's actually coming from a video that I just posted, which is how to work from home as an introvert, and it's just from Princess, and she just says, thank you for this. Now, if you guys want me to answer a question, or if you want me to feature your comment in the next video, make sure to comment below. And of course, if you guys like this video, if you guys found value, make sure to hit that like button right there. And if you still haven't, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos on how to work from home. And you guys can check out these other 2 interviews with more amazing people so you can learn more about the other ways so you can work online. I hope you guys have an awesome day. Remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!